What's up, Falcons Nation? It's your boy Jew coming at you with another Atlanta Falcons video. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. In today's video, I would like to give you guys some quick Atlanta Falcons news, and I also want to give my thoughts on the Atlanta Falcons joint practice with the Miami Dolphins. But if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you'll know when I've done Atlanta Falcons content, hit that like button for your boy. I really appreciate each and every one of you guys continuing to tune into the channel, continuing to share out my content on all the social media platforms. If you would like to follow your boy on Twitter and Instagram, you can follow me at Jew Talk Sports. If you would like to donate to my channel, you can donate to my Cash App, which is the $ Jew Talk Sports. But I really appreciate each and every one of you guys for continuing to tune in. But with that being said, let's jump right into the video. So first off, in Atlanta Falcons news, Atlanta Falcons defensive lineman Marlon Davidson didn't attend today's practice. He didn't take the trip to Miami with the team due to him battling an injury. It is a minor injury from what they're stating, but Marlon Davidson did suffer a minor injury during Friday night's game, our first preseason game against the Tennessee Titans. So he didn't travel to Miami to face the Dolphins in this second preseason game. Also, John Kaminsky, defensive lineman for Atlanta Falcons, he also suffered a concussion during the first preseason game against the Tennessee Titans, and he's currently in concussion protocol. So he's another player that won't participate in these joint practices with the Dolphins, and he also will not play in Saturday's preseason game, our second preseason game against the Miami Dolphins. But with that being said, we do have to just keep an eye on those guys. From what I'm hearing, Marlon Davidson's injury is not serious. And we all know when concussion protocol, they have to pass all of the tests and things of that nature before John Kaminsky can return to training camp practice and return to the playing field. So I wish those guys nothing but the best. But that's pretty much all I had for our Atlanta Falcons news. Now, I do want to talk about today's first joint practice with the Miami Dolphins. The team did travel yesterday to Miami, and they are right now down in South Florida competing with the Miami Dolphins in training camp. Today was the first joint practice. And for what I'm hearing and for what I've seen out of the highlights, I'm really impressed so far with our Atlanta Falcons. Our wide receivers, Calvin Ridley, in the one-on-one matchups, matched up with Xavier Howard, who's one of the better corners in the game, and Calvin Ridley smoked him. He basically had a 9 route where he hesitated and he just hit the jets. He hit on the gas, and Xavier Howard couldn't keep up with him. Ridley basically showed that he's one of the top wide receivers in this game. We all know that Calvin Ridley is an elite wide receiver and will be taking over that number 1 wide receiver role this year. But I was really impressed with how Calvin Ridley, how sharp he's looked so far in training camp. And today just goes to show during the one-on-one reps, he really stood out and he really took advantage of a guy like Xavier Howard, who's one of the best corners in the game. So shout outs to Calvin Ridley. I definitely believe that Calvin Ridley is going to have a big season. Him and Matt Ryan look really good today. Also in the one-on-one drills, all of our wide receivers and our tight ends matched up against the linebackers and the secondary players, the safeties and corners of the Miami Dolphins. And pretty much all of our wide receivers look really, really good. If you go look at the highlights from today's practice, all of the wide receivers look really good. Christian Blake looks really smooth running his routes. He's a guy that's really high on my radar. This year, he's been with the Atlanta Falcons. I believe he's going into his 3rd season with the Falcons. He's had a very impressive training camp. Olamide Zaccheaus continues to impress as well. He had a really good route against a corner against the Miami Dolphins. He looked good in the one-on-one matchups and the one-on-one drills. Hayden Hurst and Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts looked really good. He was able to separate at the top of his route and pretty much made it look easy against one of the cornerbacks for the Miami Dolphins. And Hayden Hurst had a really nice catch, a contested catch in his one-on-one matchup with one of the secondary players, one of the corners of the Miami Dolphins. But all of those guys look really, really good. Frank Darby, Tajay Sharp. These wide receivers are really doing a good job of developing. And I've seen over the last couple of years, especially out of Olamide Zaccheaus and especially Christian Blake, these guys have been learning under Julio Jones and Calvin Ridley. And these guys are really look really impressive. Another guy that a lot of people have their eyes on is Russell Gage. He's another guy that looked really good today, really sharp in his route running in today's practice. And he's a guy that a lot of people think will have over 1,000 yards receiving this year. And I definitely think that he could be a breakout star for our team this year. Whether you're lining him up in the slot, whether you're lining him up out wide, or whether you're using him in the Wildcat situation, Russell Gage is one of those guys that's a Swiss Army knife, similar to Mohamed Sanu when he was here with our Falcons. He's not as physical as Mohamed Sanu, but he can do a lot of different things out of the Wildcat. And he's one of those guys that if he straightens out catching the ball, because he has dropped a couple passes the last couple seasons, but if he works on his hands, I think Russell Gage could be really special in this Arthur Smith offense. But with that being said, also in training camp today, they talked about both teams. Their first teams did a 2-minute drill, and they said that Matt Ryan looked really good, throwing the ball, slinging the ball all over the field. They were able to get a field goal during the first drive during that 2-minute drill. And they said that the Atlanta Falcons first team defense did a really good job at putting pressure on Tua. They said Grady Jarrett was unblockable today, and they did a good job of getting pressure to Tua. And they said a couple of the plays would have been sacks, but they were able to collapse the pocket. Tua talked about our defense. We had a really good defensive scheme. He said we did a good job of disguising our defense, which is really impressive by Dean Pease and by these young players that we have on this defense. So I was really impressed from what I'm hearing coming out of training camp, out of this joint practice. Now, I did mention during my last live show that I did with AFN, K-Styles, Mad Mike Sports. We went live Monday night, and we talked about training camp, and we talked about the upcoming preseason game against the Dolphins. I believe that our Falcons should play some of the number one guys during this this second preseason game. Usually the third preseason game is dress rehearsal because usually you have 4 preseason games, but this year you only have 3 preseason games. So I think that this preseason game is going to be very important, that you put Matt Ryan out on the field. I will put him out there with the number ones, at least a couple drives, maybe even the whole first quarter, to allow these guys to gain some rhythm. Like I said, in the passing game, it's really it comes down to timing, being able to, get on one accord. Him and guys like Kyle Pitts, who Matt Ryan hasn't played in a live game with. You want to put those guys out there before the first regular season game. Allow these guys to get that timing. We have a lot of young receivers, like I talked about, that's going to have to step up this year. Olamide Zaccheaus, Christian Blake, Frank Darby. A lot of these guys are really young players. So you want to put these guys out there with Matt Ryan, with the first team offense, and allow those guys to gel. It's going to also be very important to get snaps for our offensive line, the starting 5 guys, whoever it's going to be, that's going to be that starting 5 offensive line. You do want to put those guys also out there during a live game. Allow these guys to gel, allow these guys to get used to different things as far as passing off blocks and things of that nature. It's all tempo and timing. Learning the snap count and the cadence and things of that nature. Learning the guy that you're playing next to is going to be very, very important for that offensive line to begin to gel. And on that offensive line, we have a lot of young players as well. Matt Hennessy is a first-time starter at the center position, so it's going to be very important that you put him out there so he can get used to making all of the calls on the offensive line. It's also going to be important for Jalen Mayfield. If he ends up being the starting left guard, it's going to be very important for him to get out there. And he didn't have a really good showing in his first preseason game, which is expected because he's a rookie. But it's going to be very important for him to get as many snaps as he can before the first regular season game against the Philadelphia Eagles. So I was really impressed with the first joint practice with the Miami Dolphins. We're expected to have another practice tomorrow with the Miami Dolphins as well. But I'm definitely going to keep my eyes peeled and give you guys, update you guys on what's going on during these joint practices. But I was really impressed from what I've heard coming out of camp and what I heard out of these joint practices. The media, was on Twitter tweeting about how well the defense looked and how aggressive the defense looked and how our defensive line overwhelmed the offensive line of the Miami Dolphins. So that's something that I'm definitely looking forward to in this upcoming preseason game this Saturday. I want to see how well we pressure Tua and if we can take the football away and get a couple turnovers in this game. But with that being said, this has been your boy Jew. You guys let me know what you think of the video. I'm going to have a lot more coming for you guys. But as always, Falcons Nation, rise up. If you haven't hit that like button and subscribe button for your boy, please hit that like and subscribe button if you enjoy my content. But I appreciate each and every one of you guys. As always, Falcons Nation, rise up. Peace.